channel. So we're going to do a little Q&A. Get ready with me. A few weeks ago, I asked on my community tab if you wanted me to do a Q&A. If so, send me some questions. And so I have a few questions. I didn't put it on Instagram or anything. My Instagram is very small. But I have some questions because obviously some of you are new and have some questions for me. So we're going to do our makeup and I'm going to talk. So it's going to be just like any other video that I do, but I will try to answer specific questions in mind. You guys always disappoint me though, because I don't feel like any of these were super juicy, you know, like really nosy questions. I think if I were to really want to know about somebody, I would ask something like really, really juicy, but these are all pretty standard and pretty normal. So anyway, we're going to get started because I do actually need to film another video straight after this because we have painters. We were supposed to paint the house last year and we have the painter finally coming tomorrow to start the project. Last year it just got too late in the year. So by the time, like, because we did we remodeled something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We were supposed to paint the house last year. Really, really needs painting. It's like atrocious. I don't think it's been painted in like probably 15 years. And obviously we inherited this house from my partner's family. And so it just, you know, getting a house is really great, but you have to put a lot of money into a house, especially if it hadn't been lived in previously for a long time. So anyway, we're going to have, what they need to do is they're going to also power wash the roof. And so tomorrow we have to shut all of the shutters and live in darkness. And as you know, I like to film with the light. I like to film in front of my window. So I need to film 2 videos today. I didn't even film anything on Friday last week. I didn't want to miss another day of not filming. I like filming. But anyway, so that was a little bit of a tangent, but that's what's happening with me right now. So anyway, so there's a lot of questions about like living in Portugal or other places that I have lived. I guess I have spoken about this in videos, and it's always fun for me to talk about these things, and then I forget that a lot of people don't travel that much, or they do, but they don't, you know, they just want to hear about other countries, right? So the first one is, hi Gabby, is it better to live in the UK or Portugal? So I am actually English, and I did live in the UK for a little bit, but I was never brought up in the UK whatsoever. What am I going to do with my face? I'm supposed to do stuff with my face and I'm talking too much. So I'm not really going to be outside today, even though the sun's out. So I think we're going to skip on the SPF, dare I say it. We are going to go into the Skinderella from Glossgott. It's just like a priming mask. If I talk about everything I put on my face, this video will never get pushed out. So I'll just have them linked in my description if you want to know. Anyway, so is it better living in the UK or Portugal? So I've actually, at this point in my life, I've lived in Portugal longer than I've ever lived in the UK. So that's quite interesting. That's a quite interesting fact. Okay, so how does that work? Me being English and I'm not Portuguese. Okay, so I was born in England. And then when I was about 3 or 4 months old, my family decided to move away and we moved to Italy. And I was in Italy, I think for about a year. Because I remember, I mean, obviously I don't remember, but we were in Italy for about a year or maybe 2 years. Actually, it was probably 2 years. I think I was 2 years old when we left Italy. But having said that, so honestly, I only lived in England those few months when I was born. And then the first time I officially lived in England was when I went to university. I was actually late to go to university because I took a gap year. So my first year at university I was 19 and I went to England and I only stayed there for 1 year before deciding to, basically, I wasn't officially trying to drop out, but I didn't finish my studies. My whole family decided to go to Florida in America. So I was like, hey, you know, I don't want to be left alone all in England. So I decided to go to Florida instead and start actually working instead of finishing my studies. And when I was in Florida, I always thought, well, I'm going back to university. I'll go back. And then obviously life happens and you have to pay bills and, you know, a bunch of other stuff happens. So I only lived in England during that time for 1 year because I only studied for 1 year. And I studied film and English, which if I had to go back, I would not study either one of those at this point. What am I really going to do with those? Anyway, whatever. So I studied film and English. So that was kind of fun, but I don't think I learned anything that year, which was also kind of crap because, you know, I still had to pay for that year to go to university. That actually is still being taken out of my paycheck. That's crazy, right? I'm still paying for that. I could actually pay it off, but it naturally comes out of my paycheck, which actually, as of this month, it will no longer be taken out of my paycheck because now I have no job. I know I'm all over the place. I'm not really answering this question. So I lived in Florida for a while. That's actually where I met my partner. And I actually stayed there longer than my family. My whole family left. And then I just stayed in Florida because I met my partner and I didn't want to leave him because I was in love. I actually washed all my brushes yesterday. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to use. And I don't even know what to use anymore. Okay, so what am I talking about? And then from Florida, we went back to the UK eventually. And we were in the UK for 3 years, I want to say. It was like 3.5 years, or maybe closer to 4 years, but it wasn't super, super long. I'm doing a little bit underpainting. I'm playing around, okay? So in case you're wondering, like, what is she doing? I'm underpainting. I'm just having a little bit of fun. I don't do this often, but I'm just going to have some fun. So anyway, we did that. So overall, in total, I have lived in England, let's say 5 years, give or take. 5 years of my 35-year-old life. So yeah. And then I'm in Portugal right now. And I moved to Portugal when I was a teenager with my parents. So my brother had already left because he was older than me. So he was already out of the house. We moved to Portugal for me to finish my studies. We were living in France before. I'm jumping all over the place, but I have lived in other countries, right? So I've lived in France, and I've lived in Denmark. Obviously lived in the US, I lived in Florida, and I lived in Texas for a little bit. Obviously lived in Italy and Portugal, and England. So those are the places that I have lived. But Portugal, I finished my last 2 years of schooling. So I basically had high school in Portugal, but I went to an international school. So I was like an American international school, but we had quite a lot of Portuguese students there. But I actually got my US high school diploma, which was kind of weird because I was basically a British kid. My dad is American. I do have an American passport, so I am a dual citizen or dual nationality, as it were, with England and the US because of that. But I felt very English going to that school, so it was kind of fun that because we were living in France, I went to an international school there, and most people who were international were more UK based. So it was more of a UK international school. So I went from a very UK international school to a very American international school. And I got my international baccalaureate. I also did the SATs, which is a very American thing to do. And I got my high school diploma, all while living in Portugal. And it was, where's my brush? Okay. And it was kind of a weird thing looking back at it, right? But I had a lot of fun, and I spent 2 years, and then I lived an extra year. My gap year, I just spent living in Portugal. I was like, I don't want to go to university. In true honesty, I didn't get into the university that I wanted to go into because I had a conditional sort of merit that I had to meet, and I just didn't do very well with testing. Like, I'm a smart person, but when it comes to testing, I'm terrible. I will study and study and study, and then I just, like, I'm a really bad tester. I think that because I think I'm very smart. I'm just terrible at testing. So anyway, I didn't meet the requirements to go into the university that I really wanted to. So I was like, I'm taking a gap year. I'm not going to these other ones that I had applied to because I didn't like them. I really just wanted to go to one of them, and I didn't end up getting in, which was such a shame. So anyway, lived in Portugal for 3 years, and then obviously after my gap year went to England, blah, 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 and then Florida, blah, blah, back to England, blah, blah, as I've said. And now we've been in Portugal for, well, since 2021. So it's been like 4 years, right? So yeah, I've actually lived in Portugal longer than England. The original question was, do I prefer living in England versus Portugal, or which one do I prefer? I think both have their pros and cons. England, the reason, like, we were always gonna move to Portugal, but not as soon as we did. But the reason we did is because it just got so expensive to live in the UK. And for what we were paying where we lived, it was just not enough, especially like having our son. We were so cramped. We also had a dog at the time, and it was just too much. It was too much for us to bear. So we decided that I don't like how I'm doing my makeup because I'm talking too much. I have no idea what I'm doing with my makeup. I don't know what I'm doing. So we decided to move to save money, and obviously because this house was sitting here empty, right? And we would save a lot of money. We have saved a lot of money off of rent, and we don't have to pay mortgage or anything. So overall, it's been better living here in terms of like financial situation. Also, the weather wise, overall is better than UK, but I miss my friends. I miss my family. I miss UK shopping. I miss UK food. I really am not a fan of Portuguese food. I know I'm going to be hated on. I know a lot of people like it, but I just don't like it at all. So also where we live, it's not a hugely urban area, which is fine. I don't want to live in a city, but because it's not, it doesn't have a lot of things that you would typically get if you lived in the UK in terms of like the type of cafes or restaurants or cuisine. There really isn't that much options where I live. If I went down to Lisbon, there'd be a lot more cuisines that you could try out, but there's like hardly anything here other than Portuguese food, which is fine. It's fair enough. There is actually a really nice Chinese buffet not too far where it has sushi and stuff. So it's like Asian fusion and stuff because it has noodles, Chinese food. It has all the other buffet style stuff that you would get as well, like if you don't want Asian food. But we go there every so often just so I can like have some sushi because I miss eating other things. It's really hard to say where I prefer to live at this point. It really is. I would probably, if I had the money to be comfortable as we are here and have maybe the same land situation, I would prefer to live in the UK for sure because of my family and friends. I haven't really made any friends since moving here. I'm very, very isolated and I like to have friends. I'm not a hugely sociable person, but you know, I used to like going out. I used to like doing stuff, and I'm like a hermit now. So I do miss that aspect of it. And like, obviously I'd love to just see my nieces and nephews and everything like that. There's just so much that I'm missing out on while living here. But at the same time, it's a really good living situation for my family, for my son. I think it's probably a little bit better environment for him just because he is autistic. And not to say like places in England aren't going to provide a lot of care. I think, you know, the NHS is pretty decent and stuff, but I just think culture wise, kids are friendly here and they're nicer. And I would hate to think of my son getting bullied at any point. I know it's going to happen throughout his life. It just like, that kind of worries me. But so I'm happy that he's not in a nasty environment where he could be if we were living in England, but then obviously I'm generalizing because I don't actually know. Okay, here's another question because otherwise I'm just going to be talking just about this. So, hi Gabrielle, I've been watching your videos for some time now. My question is, does your husband think about your channel? What does your husband think about your channel? Will you make a video putting on mom's makeup? Maybe you have and I've missed it, provided she's comfortable. How have you adjusted to living in Portugal? Okay, so I wanted to add this in here because obviously I was talking about Portugal. My partner, is fine with me having a channel. Obviously, I told him I was going to do a channel. He's like, really? And he's been fine. In the beginning, he was, I'm not going to say, in the beginning, he was very supportive. I'm not saying he's not supportive now, but in the beginning, he would like push me a little bit more and be like, no, you should do it. You should do it. When I, you know, like I had like no views and stuff. He's like, oh, just keep going and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, he's been very supportive. I haven't done my mom's makeup on camera. Because she doesn't want to be on camera, which is fair enough. I've asked her multiple times while she's come to visit and she doesn't want to be, so I'm not going to like push it and stuff. My partner has done my makeup. This is something that we were thinking of redoing as one of these Throwback Thursday videos. I have some ideas of what to do, but in the first year of my channel, he did my makeup. He's not on camera, you just see his arms and hands. And I asked him a few weeks ago, would you do that again as like a refresh? And he's like, maybe. So I don't know, it might come back again where he does my makeup, who knows? Again, he doesn't really want to be on camera. You can't really force someone to be on camera. It's like, it's fine. Not everybody wants to be on camera, which is perfectly normal. But yeah, no, yeah, he's supportive. He's actually, I've got him to try to do his own channel. I've been like telling him to do your own thing. And he's like, well, what am I gonna do? And I'm like, I don't know, just make a channel. That's why I feel like these days, anyone could make a channel and just do anything that they wanted to do on here. I don't know, and just have like some fun and play around and just see how it goes. I'm using a slightly different brush for this. I don't know if this is gonna work. But yeah, he's very supportive. But when I say he used to be very supportive, it's more like he used to watch all my videos and give me a like and, you know, like support that way. Now he doesn't do that. He's like, well, you have your own subscribers. I don't need to do it. I'm like, yeah, okay, fair enough. But back in the day, he used to watch my video, or at least like click play and then like wait a little bit and like them, you know, for the algorithm and stuff. But not so much anymore, which is fine. It's fair enough. But a little bit can go a long way. So if you have a new channel, just like get your friends and family to like your videos. It's definitely gonna be helpful. So here's another one where it's like about countries, but I'm new to your channel, so maybe you explained that already, but you mentioned in one video living in different climates, and I wondered where you are from originally and which countries did you live? So I've already answered it for sure, but yeah, definitely. Obviously, in terms of climate-wise, I don't really know what climate-wise I'm used to, but I want to say I grew up for like the years where I remember the most. I grew up actually mostly in France, which is kind of a weird thing to say. So let's just recap again. Born in England, moved to Italy. I think I left when I was 2 years old. We went to Texas, I think, first, and then I was there for like a year, went to Florida, was there for a year, this obviously with my family. And then when I was 5, turning 6 years old, because I remember my 6-year-old birthday happened in France. We moved to France, and there I spent 3.5 years in France. And then we went to Denmark, and we lived there for 1 year, and then we moved back to France. And this is all because of my dad. He just had a job that would take him in different places. I'm not like a military family at all, but he just had a job that would take him to multiple places, and that's just what would happen, right? And then from France, the second time I lived there up until I was 16, and then at 16, that's when we moved to Portugal, and yeah, I think that's the timeline, something like that. And then went to England for a year, went to Florida for 6 years. I think we were in Florida for 6 years, and then moved back to England, and then moved here. So kind of all over the place, but also still like either Europe or the US, not really England, which is kind of a weird thing because I consider myself more English than anything else. Obviously, Florida has a very humid and horrible climate, but you do have AC everywhere, otherwise you wouldn't be able to live. So when I talk about like this is a very humid climate, We don't have AC in this house. It's just not something that you would expect. We have ceiling, fans and everything like that. But yeah, makeup does tend to not last, unfortunately, at least certain brands at least. Okay, so there's a couple questions about how I track my eyeshadow projects or how I track my usage and things like that, which I'll put up on the screen. But it's basically, how do you can you share tips or anything, or how do you keep notes, or what's the inspiration for a spreadsheet layout? And then how do you track all your eyeshadow uses, and so on. So those are kind of two very similar questions. So I will try to answer them as best as I can. So I definitely, I think I probably could be a little bit more organized than what I am. But I just try my best to keep some sort of organization. I'm going to go into the Glamshop Sorbety today because I pulled it from my stash and I haven't gone into it yet. All right, so in terms of eyeshadow projects or project pans, like this is my project pan, which is kind of a messy little piece of paper, right? But this is my panning notebook. And I've had this for a couple of years now. When I refresh and or have a new one, I just flip and see how many pages I need for that project. But you can see I've just got January, February, March, April. And that's kind of, I have all of the items written out and then I just tally it. I just track how many times I use it. So once I've done my makeup, I write it down straight away. So I have this on my makeup vanity. Otherwise, I wouldn't remember. Sometimes I forget to do it and I do it maybe a few hours later or the next day. But then at that point, I'm like trying to guess because I don't remember what I use every single day. I really don't. So in terms of all of the actual projects that I tend to get involved with, those are the ways that I keep track of them. When it comes to using eyeshadow that is not in a project, like for instance today, this Glamshop palette is not in a project. What I'm going to do once I'm finished filming is I'll probably try to put it here or here where it looks nicest, but I'll do a little bit of a screen share of my eyeshadow spreadsheet, basically, where I have all of the eyeshadow palettes listed in this spreadsheet. I personally think it's an ugly spreadsheet. I just created it from scratch. I'm sure you can find prettier ones. I have thought about making it a lot neater and nicer, but it works for me and I don't really plan on sharing it with anyone. So, but I just created this where you have the palette name, the brand, the shadow name, and then a number. So every shade in my collection has a number assigned to it. So if I ever do a random number generator and I want to use 5 random shades in my collection, I could very well do that. However, whenever I get a new eyeshadow palette, I do list all of those in that spreadsheet alphabetically because that's just how my brain works. So if I get a new one, like for instance, the Gourmand Girls palette that I just got, I added it to my spreadsheet and I had to redo a lot of the numbering for everything else, which is fine. It just shifts everything around. So basically all my What's Up Beauty palettes are at the bottom of the list, even though they're not the oldest. I used to do oldest at the top and newest at the bottom, but I just decided to just switch it up a little bit. So anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. What am I talking about? Yeah, anytime I use an eyeshadow palette, because I already have the shade, when I get a new eyeshadow palette, I add it to my spreadsheet. When I go into the shades, obviously it's fresh in my mind. So after this video, I'm gonna go open that spreadsheet. My computer is right here, so it's pretty easy. I could put it in a G sheet and just do it on my phone. I've thought about doing that, but I just haven't done it yet. So maybe I will. But I could easily convert it to a Google Sheet and just do it that way and have access to it online. So anyway, that's just what I do. I just put how many uses I've done, and then I have columns for the uses that I've done each year, right? So I kind of started this spreadsheet, I think in 2022 or the end of 2021. I don't actually remember. So I have one column where it says up to 2023 because I was tracking it a little bit wish-washy. I wasn't really doing very well. But from 2023 onwards, I've been a lot more pedantic about how to track it and everything like that. And so that is what I've been doing, and it's been kind of working for me. I've really enjoyed it, and I don't know, I think that if that's something that you struggle with, if you don't have a computer or don't like using Excel or anything like that, like notebooks is like the best way, really. I have also thought about doing like the little grids for all of my palettes, but then I wouldn't really know what a use means, because that's more for like hitting pan and everything. And my spreadsheet has if I've hit pan, and then how many uses it took me to hit pan. And then obviously from there, if I continue using the shade, I can see, oh, I've used this shade 46 times, but it actually took me 23 uses to hit pan because I have it on a separate column. So that's kind of how my brain works with this stuff. I don't think it's too complicated. I don't think you need to make it complicated at all. Just finding a system that works for you and what you personally like to track, because I didn't used to track all of, you know, my Shop My Stash palettes. I would vaguely guess which shades I went into. So that's why my uses aren't exactly accurate up until, you know, about maybe 10 months ago, where I was like being really quite strict about, no, I use the Shop My Stash palette. I'm going to add it into my spreadsheet straight away, just so I get some more accurate, what am I saying? Accurate figures on it. But yeah, it's not really any more complicated than that. It really doesn't need to be. So that's what I would, well, that's what I do. And that's what I would suggest to do. In terms of tips, I mean, just have it on a notebook, because if you forget to add it there, you have it in your little notebook and just have a little tally of what you're doing. It really just depends on how much you want to track. I used to do my Shop My Stash, then I would do a 10 uses for all of the items in my Shop My Stash. It was my project 10 uses Shop My Stash. And that was crazy. I actually had to stop doing that, because even in the eyeshadow palettes, I wanted to use all of the shades, and I was basically doing a no pan left behind for all of the eyeshadow palettes that I would pull from my Shop My Stash, plus every single other item that I use, like a foundation, I wanted to use it 10 times. And then I can't really roll it out. Like, this is like back in the day, July. You can see I had my Ofra highlighter. I had whatever this says, my peach. I don't know what that is. Probably I don't know what that would be. My kimchi. I don't know what that is. I wrote like little codes for everything, tally it up. And obviously this I highlighted. So I probably hit the 10 uses. I used it 6 times there. Do I have it on this one? Where's June? Do you see June? These are all eyeshadow palettes. Isn't that mad? I was absolutely psychotic. This is why I no longer do my project 10 uses the way I was doing it, because it was actually kind of driving me a little bit crazy, because it was getting a little bit tricky to track all my uses and have fun with my makeup, because I was stressing so much about using my Shop My Stash items. And also I was still doing project pan. I was still doing pan those eyeshadows. I was still doing other things alongside it. So it was just taking me, it was like taking the fun out of something that needs to be fun. So I definitely, a couple years ago, took a step back from a lot of projects. And I'm very happy for that reason, because, you know, at the end of the day, it has to come down to, what do I want to, why am I project panning? Like, what do I want to do with project panning? Is it just that I want to do every single project pan project out there? Because I tried to do that. I tried to jump on so many and I hated them. I hated doing all of the random ones. I only want to project pan items that I actually want to project pan. That's why I just stopped doing all those prompt-based ones. It just drove me absolutely nuts. And then eyeshadow, I just think it's fun to know how many times you've used a shade, whether in a project or outside of a project. So that's why I've been tracking that, because obviously then I can really see like what shades do I gravitate towards? What shades do I use the most? What shades don't I touch ever? It just gives me a better understanding of what's really going on in my collection. I feel like I'm slouching too much. My back, I pulled my back like a week ago and I've been slouching so much, but I don't know if that was helpful at all, but anyway. Okay, and then we have a lot of questions from Camilla. So let's just see. So what countries would you like to visit is the first one. So I I think anywhere that is east, because that, like, I haven't been east, so anywhere east, I would love to go. I mean, obviously, I think Japan springs to mind, South Korea, like Singapore, like just anything over there sounds very exotic to me. I would love to go to Australia. I've always wanted to go to Fiji. For some reason, I had an obsession when I was younger about Fiji. So that's very, very far though. That's very far, and who knows? I mean, it's probably never gonna happen, but I don't know. Those were kind of on my lists of places that I really wanted to go to. But it's kind of hard to travel, honestly, these days. For one thing, it's just so expensive. And I don't know, I just, with my son, I just feel like it would be a lot of work. It would be tiring. It's so tiring. Like, can you imagine a little 5-year-old on an airplane that long? Oh my gosh. But no, I've been to Africa. So like the reason that I'm not really like saying certain countries because I've already been, but I would love to go back to Africa. I've done a few safaris in Kenya. I would love to go back. I would also love to go to Mexico because I've been to Mexico before. I'd love to go back to Mexico. My partner lives in Florida for a very, very long time. Never went to Mexico, and I do not understand why. So I want to take him to Mexico, but again, now we don't live anywhere near Mexico, so it's kind of stupid to go all the way that way. I would love to go more places in Eastern Europe as well because I just find that really kind of fascinating. I would love to go to Croatia. That's absolutely, I mean, it looks gorgeous. I would love to go to some islands as well. So there's a lot of places and too little time. I would also like to visit more Nordic countries because me and my mom went to Stockholm a few years ago and that was really fun. But I would love to go to some other places that are like maybe colder, you know, like kind of like switch it up a little. It doesn't always have to be like warm weather places. I have a little bit of a bucket list. There's definitely places that I don't care about going, and that's just because I just don't have any interest. You can't go everywhere in your whole life. Who knows if I'll end up going to any of those places. Next question is, what hobbies activities would you like to get into? Okay, so a few years ago, I kind of got into gardening. I have some flowers that I really, really love. I have my hibiscus flowers, which I'm very, very proud of, and they're thriving. I have a few rose bushes that are thriving as well. I would like to get back into gardening, but I do find, I don't know, I find it a little hard. I don't think I have a green thumb. Like everything I touch tends to die, which is not what you want. My partner though, I keep calling him my partner because we are engaged. We've been engaged for a very, very, very long time. I think it's going to be 10 years at this point that we've been engaged. Still not married. We're still trying to get married. But now the Portuguese government wants some of my, they want my birth certificate to be apostilled. So I have to go do that all online and get that sent from the UK and stuff. So there's just been a lot of miscommunication. Like they could have told us that, you know, over a year ago, and we've only just found that out now. Anyway, so he has a green thumb. So he actually just for one little afternoon did something with my plants and now they're all thriving. So as long as I have him around, I'm good. In terms of other hobbies, I mean, I don't know if there's any hobbies that I want to get into. I have been trying to walk a little bit more and like being more active and like get more like movement in my life because I've been really bad at that. So actually just today I went to the beach again for a little walk because they have such a nice boardwalk there. And obviously I've gotten back into reading, so I'm already like slowly doing that. I used to game a lot. I don't really game anymore, but maybe I'll try to get back into gaming. For me personally, YouTube is my biggest hobby, right? So there's not that much time after that, really, because I have so many chores that I need to do. I have to try to be a decent mother. And, you know, the time that I have for myself is dwindling down for sure. Obviously, I was at a full-time job and then I went part-time. And I think this month now, I'm even less than part-time, and I think this is the last month that I'm going to be around, and then I will have no work. So that's exciting, but also scary at the same time. And I should, in theory, have way more time, but I am putting a lot of time back into YouTube at the moment, just because I'm finding it a lot of fun and pleasure, and I'm just seeing if I can grow this account to a point where it is worth, you know, pursuing and keep going. But this is definitely the biggest hobby. But yeah, I think maybe just being outside more and like tending to my garden, as like old as that makes me sound, or like millennial, because I know a lot of millennials just end up being really good gardeners. I'm not quite there yet, but I would like to be. I don't know. I also thought about like making candles at some point, but I have no idea how to do that. I have no idea how to do that. But that was something that I was thinking about. What else? What else? I don't know. Baking, but then I think the problem with baking, like I would really love to make some really nice bread. Like I know how to make really good bread. But the problem that I always feel like with baking is that you make all this stuff and then you have to eat it. And it's not like the healthiest thing in the world. So unless you give it to other people, I just find baking to not be the smartest move on my side. Right? It would just, it's not the best thing for me at the end of the day. So I don't know. All right. I know you wrote some other things. Let me see. Makeup brands that you wouldn't buy from and why. Okay. So makeup brands that I would not buy from. There are, I mean, I have never bought from the J Stars of the world or the J Charles of the world, and I would never. I don't think I would ever try Michaela's brand either. Even if she comes out with makeup and it's like the best thing in the world, I just don't care to support her. So I don't think I'll ever buy that. And I think just other brands that I will never buy from, there has to be, like, I'm open to trying mostly everything. So it's kind of hard for me to say I'll never try that. But then if I come into possession of, or if I go traveling in the US and suddenly there's all these brands that I can't buy here, but I'll buy there, I might end up testing them out. I don't know. I think just like controversial people, I'll definitely never buy from them. There's probably more people that I probably would not buy from, but I can't think of them now at this point. So there's probably just those. I think I'd probably try anything. I've already tried Shein, so I can't really say I'll never buy from them. Probably Chantecaille, although I probably would I really do want to try there, but they're so expensive that I probably will never. You know, that's more on the other side of the argument, where it's not like about who they are, it's just about their products and it being so expensive. I just don't think I could ever. Favorite TV shows. Okay, so I think I just have to go to like an old school one. Like I would say Friends. You know, I'm not very original. I watched it when I was younger. I mean, I've watched it so many times now on reruns when it was on Netflix. And it's just, you know what it is? It's like a comfort show. It's one of my comfort shows. I also loved Charmed, and I've watched Charmed over and over again, but I don't think I've ever finished Charmed. It's always just like the first few seasons, I like love it, and then I've always lost interest. So that was another one where I would say that was, you know, growing up, that was definitely a favorite, but not necessarily one that I have watched all the way through. I think the problem with TV shows is the first season or the first couple seasons could be really, really good. Like with Vikings, I really, really enjoyed that. And I watched all those, and we've watched the spin-off shows from it too. But I think at a certain point, it just stopped being fun and it wasn't as good. Same with Game of Thrones. Like we watched that, we loved that. But there were some episodes where I was just like, oh my God, this is dragging, you know? I do like House of Dragons. I think that's good. I wouldn't say it's a favorite TV show, but yeah, favorite TV shows, I think it has to just be Friends. I mean, I don't think there was really anything else there. Next up is favorite foods, and would you film a vlog including restaurants? Also, what would your dream palette be? Maybe you could do a build your own palette video. So I always felt that I didn't have too many like interesting singles. So like, how could I build a, you know, build your own palette video? But maybe I'll try to do that. I don't know. That's something that I've put to the back of the burner and be like, that could be an interesting one. I think in terms of food, I really like Mexican, I like Italian, I really like Chinese, and I like sushi. I mean, what else is there really? I think those are the basic ones that I love, but I like spicy food. So even like if you have like spicy chicken wings, oh, love it. The hotter the better. I make everything spicy. So that's where I am. This is not the right color. I thought this was more beige. You know, I used to do little vlogs and I think I talked about food, or I did some food in them, but they're just not like what my channel is about. So I just don't think that they would be very interesting. I did post a vlog on my channel members, and I probably will do more vlogs there because I can kind of control the privacy of what I'm sharing with just a handful of people, right? But in terms of cooking recipes, like I don't have anything that I do that would be very interesting to share to other people. Like I know how to cook, I do cook often, but what I cook is just like, you know, I know how to make pasta sauce, like different types of pasta sauce. I do like nice rice dishes. I do like your shepherd's pie, your lasagnas in the world and things like that. Like I know how to do all that stuff, but I don't quite necessarily feel like they're very interesting recipes to have to share online. So I think in terms of me, I don't know, showcasing that on my channel, I just don't think it's something that I would end up doing unless it was in a members video probably. Anyway, I've kind of run out of things to talk about, and also my makeup is done. Hopefully this was interesting. I don't know, you guys asked the questions. You have to ask some juicier ones next time. I'm very open about certain things, so yeah, don't feel bad about being a little too nosy. At the end of the day, we're all here, we're all like, you know, we're trying to get to know each other, but if you have any follow-up questions, let me know. I potentially could answer them in the comments below, or do a second style video, like a follow-up. But I really like this. So I only just went into this one. I didn't go to any other ones. This is such a gorgeous palette, and I don't talk about Glamshop nearly enough, but very, very, very beautiful. So I'm really still into my spring lighter looks. I think I have lipstick blindness. Can anyone relate? Because I can never figure out what lipstick to wear with which look. I think I get it wrong half the time. And then my teeth look a little too yellow sometimes, depending on which lip product I use. So then I go back in the editing and I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I use that? And then I feel like this video is probably gonna be the same, but I didn't know what to put on my lips. So we did a combination of the NYX Line Loud, which was just far too pink. This is the shade Trophy Life. I went into Glamshop, a little lip balm lipstick, and then the Nomad for a little bit of extra like sparkle and purple to match the eyes. But yeah. Anyway, I'll link everything else I put on my face since I didn't speak about it. But I do like the look. I think the underpainting was fine. Anyway, thank you so much for watching the video and asking all the questions, and hopefully you enjoyed it. So I'll see you all next time. Bye.